Welcome, low ego action heroes. It's Debbie Levitt from deltacx.com, full service CX and UX agency, and it is February 2, 2021, so it is time for Office Hours Ask Me Anything. All of my technology seems to be going a little bit crazy right now, so I'm hoping that this is working. Let me open a few windows and see what's going on. Meanwhile, you can start bringing in your questions if you'd like, so that I can put them on the list for being answered. Let's see. Okay, we're on Twitch. That's good. Everybody, please come join us on Twitch. Hello, Charlene. Let's see. Okay, this looks like it's working, so I'll close this and open a few more windows. So don't forget, I will be taking everybody's questions live, and I do have a few that were already sent in, so if you start posting yours, I can certainly add them to the list. And let's turn on YouTube comments. Hello, Shannon. Okay, I think I've got my windows working. I have too many windows open, everybody. One person show here. All right, let's see if I can start arranging these windows, and then I will start answering the questions that I got. Meanwhile, you can all tell me how you're doing, and please join us over on Twitch. It seems to be not only more fun than YouTube, but they also have lots of fun interactive things that I can do, which is nice. And what else? And we're going to run a giveaway there. So if you do ! Giveaway, if you haven't already entered, you can enter the giveaway over on the Twitch channel, which is deltacx.com, all written out. And at the end of the month, I will pick one winner to get a signed hardcover book from me. Okay, so we've got hellos from people, and now I'm going to open up the questions and start with the ones that have already come in. Don't forget that you can ask your questions through the chat rooms or through this link, deltacx.link/ask. It is the new way that I am taking questions. Let's give it a try today. All right, let's see. Yes, the old way works too. Okay, let's see. Just going through some of my emails just to see if there's any questions. Okay, so I will start from the 3 questions that I got earlier. Hi, Ekening. I'm happy to see you switching to Twitch. More people. I'm hoping to get 50 followers on Twitch this month, so spread the word. All right, so starting with the first question we got, this one actually came in yesterday while we were doing episode 95 with Ask Amy Santee Anything, and she's a UX researcher. So I'm going to read the question, and then I'm going to tell you we answered this yesterday. The question was, my design lead isn't UX research friendly. They're very talented visual design-wise. Should I encourage them to pursue professional development in using research? I don't feel like I can learn much from them from a research standpoint. So that came in yesterday. So just a quick note, if you're watching now, we answered it yesterday about 25 minutes in to the stream. So go to the live stream podcasts playlist on YouTube and look for episode 95, Ask Amy Santee Anything, and go 25 minutes in and you should see it around there. Thank you. Okay, next anonymous question that came in during the week, and that was, do you have a strategy for using references when, due to the nature of your role, like a temporary consultant, you know you'll likely need them more than once? So this is references like when you're applying for a job and they want to call your references. I feel like I need to spread the wealth when choosing references, but not everyone understands why I always seem to be in the job market, and I don't always trust the people I've worked with or for. That usually leads me to asking the same people, probably too often. I don't want to wear out my welcome with my biggest cheerleaders. I've started withholding references until I'm sure it's a gig that I even want. Curious as to whether you had any thoughts or strategies on this. Super question. I'm so glad we're talking about this because it's definitely something we should be thinking about. Now, of course, in my new HR training that I'm still writing, I am going to say, get rid of references. References, for the most part, part don't make sense. Unless you don't believe that someone even held that job. Are you just trying to confirm that they held the job, or are you trying to find out if they were good or bad? Because at least in America, in some states, they're not allowed to tell you if the person was terrible. They can only use coded weird things like, they are not eligible for rehire. Is that because they're bad? Is that because you don't rehire people who leave? We don't even know. So I believe that references are mostly garbage because you're going to pick a cheerleader. It doesn't make sense to be like, call my biggest cheerleader and hear how great I am. So my resume says, I don't even think it even says references available upon request anymore. And right now I tell people, I've been trying to collect some references and nice words on LinkedIn. So sometimes I will say to people, if you want to hear how I am, look on LinkedIn. That is someone who I worked with or for, publicly declaring what they thought of me when under no pressure to do so. I would much rather you look at that than for you to call the manager I had in 2014 for the 19th time. So I think that we should not offer up these references. You can put references available upon request, but you can even take that off. If someone really needs references, they can ask you for them. I haven't been asked in a long time, and I really hope that people are moving away from this. So that would be my suggestion there, is that we should probably just be moving away from this because references don't make sense. So I would say withhold your references until it's a gig you're sure you want, and B, they've demanded it. Sometimes I will say to people, look, I'm interviewing at multiple places. Everybody is calling these people. That's disrespectful to their time. Are you trying to confirm that I worked there, or are you hoping to hear that I was good? Because I'm only going to give you to someone who said I'm good. Do we still have to do this? And I know for sometimes people will say, no, we have to do this. Our company makes us do it. Okay. So I know we sometimes can't get around it. I see some questions coming in. So let's see. And we do have some anonymous ones still coming in. So I promise I'm seeing these. Let's see. Oh, I'm logged into the wrong account. This is going to be wacky log out. Sorry, people. I was not prepared for today. I was having some technical difficulties, and I am moving in a little bit of slow motion today, but I will try to catch up shortly. Thanks for your understanding. All right. Okay, so we've got a question, and I will add it to the list. Okay, so we've got one more anonymous question that came in before the one that just came in now. And so let's answer that. But again, keep these questions coming. And I am also monitoring the chat in Twitch and YouTube and LinkedIn. So please keep the questions coming wherever you like. And of course, if you are in Twitch, please enter the giveaway. So there you go. So let's take a look at our anonymous question. It says, hey, Debs. I love when people are so informal with me. Ekening does that too. What do you think about the use of pop-ups or modals to support task-based design? I mean, when the tasks or subtasks are fairly simple and in a SaaS context, like add a new contact or add a new product. Then if you discourage the use of pop-ups in this context, what would be the alternative to these? I can totally get how these can be misused in multiple contexts, but I still see some benefit getting the user focused when talking about the context described. Thanks a million. Okay, so it's a little hard for me to reply to this only because every design and context is going to be different, but I'll give you my general opinion on whether or not I would use pop-ups or modals in a SaaS system for a task. If the task is relatively short, I think a pop-up or modal can work. Remember, it is typically interruptive. Whatever they were doing before on the page now is blurred out or shaded out, and we pop up this modal. They have to close it, and they have to pay attention to it. If it's a modal with a lot of steps and steps and steps and steps, I probably wouldn't put that in a modal or a pop-up. I think that's defeating the purpose of what these tend to be. So I think if it's a multiple step thing, I would probably just bring people to another page where they can conduct that task in some sort of normal way, whether that's linearly down the page or through steps within that page, but I would probably separate it out. If, like you said, it is something that is relatively short, could it be a pop-up or modal? It could. I think another question would be, could it be something that's kind of progressive disclosure? Could it be something where someone says, add new contact, and everything drops down, and this kind of comes in the middle, and we have some fields there for someone to fill out? So again, without having seen this or tested it or knowing more about the target audience or the use, I can't say any of these is the solution. I think these are all worth trying. This is another reason why I use Axure, not sponsored, AXURE, because when I prototype my stuff, I can more easily see, does this feel like a good experience? Let's walk through it. Let's try it out. Let's fill out this form. Oh, you know what? This feels slow. This feels intrusive. This feels whatever. So I think that realistic prototyping will also help you see if your idea is going in the right direction, or let you prototype some variations of this and either try it yourself, work with your fellow CX or UX collaborators, or even bring it to testing. So let's see, we're getting a question from Nathan on LinkedIn, so I'm going to paste that in under our anonymous question, which was only semi-anonymous. So I hope that helps to the person who asked that question. I think there are many possible interaction models that could work here, and I would probably have to see how long is this particular task and what does it involve, and some other things to see what would be best. But you can't beat prototyping it and running it through some paces, and maybe even usability testing one or two ideas and see where it goes. Hope that helps. So let's see. We have a question. Hi, Debbie. Hi. I have a conversational style portfolio interview. What does that entail? How long would you take running through a 1-hour portfolio interview? Okay, so I'm not sure I've heard about conversational style portfolio interview. I am assuming they want you to talk through your portfolio or walk through your portfolio. Maybe you can give me a follow-up if I'm like way off here. But normally, if I'm going to walk through my portfolio or talk through it, I'm not going to do it for the whole hour. And very often, if I am talking through a portfolio, I will often stop at various times and say, would you like to know more about that? Or should I move on? Because sometimes we get a little excited about a story we're telling and we end up talking for 10 minutes about our recruitment for our research, and they're all kind of like, get on with it. So just to make sure I'm getting feedback from the audience, these interviewers, I might stop from time to time and say, well, for this particular project, research recruitment was especially difficult or time consuming or strange. Would you like to hear more about that, or would you like me to continue talking about other aspects of the project? And I don't know what they'll say, but if they say, yeah, we're not that interested in the recruitment, keep going. Okay, well then the next thing that happened was I spoke to 10 people and here were some of the key insights I came up with. And then the next thing I did was a variety of documents based on that research. Are you interested in seeing some of these documents or artifacts? Yes, no. So I think one thing that you can do is, without constantly taking their temperature, check in with this audience from time to time and see if there's something specific they're hoping you'll talk about, or if there are certain things they don't mind if you skip. So that's one thing. Now, other people may advise against that, but as for my opinion, and you're here to hear that, that's what I would probably say for a portfolio presentation interview. If there's something else that they're expecting you to do, when you say conversational style portfolio interview, I'm not too sure what conversational style means. If this is one of those videos where they want you to pre-record it, then I would be asking ahead of time, hey, sometimes I get really in the weeds with some aspects of my portfolio review. Can you please help me know if there are areas in particular where the people who will watch this pre-recorded video want to hear or don't want to hear? For example, do you want me to go into detail on how we recruited? Do you want me to show all the artifacts of research? Is there an area where they want to focus? I would if it's a pre-recorded video, which you're seeing more and more, I would ask that. If it is live, then keep checking in with your audience. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up question. If you're watching live, which you might be, if you can ask that in the live chat, or you can send it to the anonymous thing. And remember, you can always ask a follow-up question to someone else's question. So you don't have to be like, hey, Debbie, that was my question. You can say, hey, I have a follow-up question to that, and we'll never know if it's you or not. So hopefully that helps a little bit. And now let's take a look over at our next question, which comes from Nathan on LinkedIn. I cannot put LinkedIn questions up on the screen, but I can put up plus red saying it is cool to see me on Twitch. Isn't it though? I hope people will join Twitch. There's some pretty fun things I can do there once we get cooking, but I have to have, I think, 50 followers. So please follow on Twitch, deltacx.com. Okay, Nathan asks, hi, Debbie. As always, thank you for your awesome podcasts. Thank you, Nathan. I'm Nathan from Chicago, and I'm enrolled in a boot camp due to start soon. Boo, I'm sorry to hear it, as you know. But because of your show, other podcasts, and lots of reading, I'm considering doing this on my own with 2 to 3 mentors instead of a boot camp. Is that a good idea? Can you suggest mentors? And is the private training on Delta CX where I would contact you about this? On one of your last shows, you warned about the ADP list and some people there not being anything more than a recent grad. I think it was show 94, where the question about an alternative to boot camps wasn't exactly answered. Yeah, we didn't. Show 94 was, I think, Chad, who talked about his boot camp experience. We did not exactly answer what's the alternative because there isn't a great answer to that right now. It's not like I have an answer and I'm keeping it from all of you. There isn't a great answer right now. I think the answer is going to be apprenticeships, but many companies are not doing these yet. So I can't be like, you need an apprenticeship. Sorry, it doesn't exist. On Monday, I'm going to be doing a live podcast about apprenticeships to promote them and how I think they should exist. So hopefully that will get passed around. So to step back, do I think you should do the boot camp? Probably not, but watch, what was it, episode 79, which is what is the value of a UX education? And of course, there's always episode 56 with the phases of proficiency. So those are 2 good ones to watch from the live stream podcast archives over on YouTube. Remember, even if you're hanging out with us on Twitch, everything is archived on YouTube since Twitch isn't totally designed for archives. Plus red, let's see how that pops up on my screen, whether or not that emoji comes up. Not exactly. It just says kappa. So some people will know what that is in Twitch land. I don't. So my advice, Nathan, would be, I do like the idea of working with mentors, but I also know it's good to get some foundational knowledge about UX, probably from some online courses. Now you're going to go, which online courses? I still haven't found great ones. I've been trying to poke around IDF a little bit, but I really run hot and cold even with their courses. Now the price isn't bad. You can get access to their courses for under, I think, $300 American a year, but I'm really hot and cold. Some of them look good, though I haven't tried them out yet and I plan to, and some of them look really bad. So eventually I hope to poke around their courses myself and to be able to say, aha, these look good, please do them. These look crap, don't do them. But for example, there looked like some interesting ones that they had under advanced UX that to me were things you should learn before anything, like psychology principles and brain and behavior stuff. I wish people learned that first so that the other things you learn about CX and UX are now layered over that foundational knowledge. So chances are you're going to end up doing perhaps some IDF courses, then working with mentors on realistic projects so you can have something in your portfolio. But remember, this still does not build a bridge to your first job because, and again, I can't solve this problem until apprenticeships exist, but the problem is many companies are saying juniors must have a year of work experience. Even if we work on a real or if we work on a fake project together as a sample for your portfolio, that is not work experience and that wouldn't count. So you would have to get real work experience for many jobs, and that is where this tends to fall apart. And Shannon agrees. She says IDF can be hit or miss. And that's the way I feel about it as well. Certainly, I wouldn't say learn design thinking. So for 2 to 3 mentors, I think that's a great idea. It'll certainly give you lots of different angles and perspectives, especially if all these people are reviewing the same thing. I also do recommend Michelle Ronson's classes on curiositytank.com, not sponsored. Shannon suggests Alan Dix's courses on IDF. I haven't seen these yet. Again, I haven't seen any IDF courses yet. I just started looking at the titles and making a mental note of which ones I wanted to look at some point. But I've got so many things to write. That first, right before watch. So I think if you want to learn UX research, check out Michelle Ronson's Curiosity Tank courses. She's holding an event tonight, which is a free event to talk about her upcoming courses. They run about $2,200 American dollars for all of the courses, but I hear good things about them. So I would say go and talk to her for the research side of things. And then for the rest of it, like interaction design and information architecture and testing ideas and prototyping, it's unfortunately going to be fake or real projects with mentors for now because I've not found great courses. I can't even find courses on information architecture, like at all. I found 1 hour's worth of courses on the entire interwebs that looked good. So let's see. Oh, Darren's here. And he says, and don't forget to follow him on YouTube, UX Uncensored. Coursera UX Design and Research via University of Michigan is getting good reviews, and I've been recommending it. Okay, so that might be something to check out. I haven't looked through Coursera's stuff yet. I looked through Pluralsight, and I couldn't find much. I looked through LinkedIn Learning, and I couldn't find much. And I started poking around IDF, and I didn't find a lot that I got excited about other than some of the psychology things. So Nathan, I don't have a great answer for you, but I would say time after time, I feel like people are more disappointed by their boot camp than they're happy with it. That doesn't mean you would be definitely unhappy. It just means I am concerned. So, I hope this helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up question. Shannon agrees that LinkedIn Learning is lacking IA courses. Darren says Coursera is $49 a month for about 9 months. So again, these prices are not unfair, but I don't want to recommend these if they end up being crappy. Okay, we've got a question coming in from Matt. Let's see what this says. I'm pressing all the wrong buttons because I'm trying to use my new system. Okay, so we got that question. Now we got Matt. Okay, let's copy and paste this question into my list of questions, which becomes the what do you call it? The description on YouTube. So thank you, Matt, for that. And let's see what this says. Matt says, I recently watched your chat with Sam Harper. Yes, that is in the live stream podcast episodes. What was that? 70-something? 80-something? I think 70-something. And I wanted to learn more about escaping these lean UX design thinking mindsets that I learned in boot camps. Beyond your website that I need to dive into, what would you suggest for a relatively new CX UX designer? Neat question. Yeah, and I have on my to-do list to try to record more videos of what do you do if you are trying to unbrainwash yourself because you have been learning about design thinking from a boot camp or a course, or you've been pushing it at your job because you thought it was going to evangelize UX and now you realize it did not evangelize UX. And I have not shot those videos yet, and I don't have a lot of answers yet. So I apologize. I think the main thing that I'm going to be recommending is just to start using the correct terms for things and just to start transitioning. Both lean UX and design thinking revolve heavily around team exercises and team workshops. Start holding fewer of those. Start doing more work yourself, because both of them don't totally love when you do work yourself. It's all about stabbing at things designed by committee. Oh, Julia's here. She says, I'm a little late. I had to download the app. Thank you, Julia. Please follow on Twitch. But I graduated from University of Michigan's HCI UX program. I recommend it to anyone. I assume the online courses taught by the same faculty are good, so I second Darren's recommendation. Okay, thank you, Julia, who's our friend of the show. So back to Matt's question. I think we just have to start phasing that stuff out and phasing in the good stuff. And you can even start to say, in a design thing, if you're still doing design thinking workshops or you're under pressure to do them, start implementing more good user-centered design processes and phases into that. Like, hey, before we start our design thinking, I'm going to do 2 or 3 weeks of interview research or observational research with our users, so that when we start some of these design thinking exercise, we have really good intelligence on our customers, fresh and updated. And you'll say, and that's actually part of user-centered design, which is something kind of bigger and better than design thinking. So I think there are ways that you can start kind of priming people for this. Now, in your case, where you might not have your first job yet and you are really looking more for, how do I just get out of my own head with this stuff? I think probably reading Don Norman books might be a good way to uncult yourself, because certainly he's not recommending these things. And he wants us to do great, thorough, complete work based in psychology versus shortcuts and everything by committee. So that would be one suggestion I have, but we're so lucky to have Darren here. Darren, do you have another suggestion of how a recent boot camp grad or someone in a boot camp can start undesign thinking themselves? Excuse me. Just a reminder that another reason I'm pushing everybody to Twitch is that I tested it a few days ago, and the delay between when I say something and when it's on Twitch is under 7 seconds. It is way more of a conversation, and I love that, and I look forward to more of that with all of you. LinkedIn is usually 2 to 3 minutes, and YouTube is about 20 to 30 seconds. So I know it's lit, says Plus Red. Darren says, my book list on LinkedIn and Medium, along with my PLN and UX. So check out Darren Hood on LinkedIn, also UX Uncensored on YouTube. He's got a podcast, UX Uncensored. You can't go wrong with a lot of Darren's stuff. He will always push you in the right direction. I tend to know less about books because I never make time to read them. I'm too busy writing them. Not a great excuse, but unfortunately true. So I would say just start reading as much as you can about people talking about real user-centered design or human-centered design. And hopefully you can start to shift away from the, as Darren put it, glorified spitballing. Put that up. The glorified spitballing of that is unfortunately too common with these, I call them aspirologies. They aspire to be methodologies, but they're really quite bad. So thank you for that. Let's check if we have any more anonymous questions. And remember, you can ask questions live in the chat as well as at deltacx.link/ask. And the deltacx.link/ask will be available 24/7, so you can ask your questions. Someone said, hi. Hi. I'm going to delete that now. So, hi. But thank you. Let's see, delete from Matt. Thank you, Matt. And delete our earlier one. I'm so afraid to mispronounce your name again, but you know who you are because I recently gave you a portfolio review. I think it's Jog, but I keep forgetting. I'm sorry, there's a lot of you and I keep forgetting how to pronounce your names. Please be patient with me. Okay, got that. And let's see, what else? Okay. Okay, so let's see. Plus Red. Who are you, Plus Red? I don't know everybody's real names. Emmy says, I'm tuning in a bit late. How do you spell his name? Darren Hood is Darren, like Nancy. Hood is Hood. You can find him on LinkedIn, of course, as Darren Hood. And then from there, I'm sure you will easily be able to find all of his stuff, which he, on Twitter and YouTube, which he's calling UX Uncensored. Oh, good. Plus red is Wilson. Then I can try to call some of you by name. Thank you, Wilson. Don't forget to follow us on Twitch. I'm shooting for 50 followers this month. And there you go. And so Emmy's looking for book recommendations. Yeah, Darren has a huge list that he keeps of books, and he tries to update it from time to time. So check that out. And also his podcast is The World of UX. So check your, whatever is your preferred system for podcasting or listening to podcasts, and see if it's in there. Let's write down a new question that we are getting from Wilson. He says, I've been reading Solving Product Design Exercises, which speaks a lot about how schools aren't teaching students enough about business problem solving. Would it make sense to learn more about business strategies? I personally think you can't go wrong learning things about other domains. I mean, we're going to have to collaborate with these people, and especially in the business strategy world, I think that's an important thing for us to know more about. You'll hear other people say this, even people I don't like. Well, other people will say this, and they'll say you have to learn to speak the business's language. And I think that it's important for us to remember that we can't become the business's order takers, but it's important for us to remember what some of their priorities are and what drives them, because very often it's not empathy. And it's not empathy. And it's not always user needs. It is sometimes something else. The perspective I've taken on this is I've actually taken it a step farther is after dropping 2 UX master's degrees because I hated the programs, I am now working on an MBA, and I'm about halfway done with it. And so I am kind of going for what you're saying, Wilson. So it's fun to see that we're cousins. Yeah, empathy. I know. I am working on an MBA because I want to make sure I understand more about business and strategy, because part of what I can see myself doing over the next handful of years is trying to get CX and UX more respect, more understanding, more inclusion, more integration, more everything by working on that business strategic side rather than saying it's design ops, it's design strategy. I think we're going to have to come in through business strategy and business transformation. That is what I'm thinking. Wilson says, what? You're doing an MBA? That's awesome. Well, thank you. With a Sonic the Hedgehog emoji or whatever that is. What is that? PogChamp. I don't know what any of these things are. I'm not a gamer. Yes, I am about halfway through an online MBA. I will be done with my coursework in 6 months, and I officially graduate in September. So I will have an MBA. My bachelor's is music, which normally doesn't impress everybody. Crackle. So that's, I'm caught up with our questions. Let's see what else. Let's take a moment out to remind everybody that they can get connected with me now in more ways than ever. Of course, if you're on YouTube, empathize with the like button and give this a thumbs up. It helps us in the algorithm. Not so on Twitch, so don't worry there. Another reason to like Twitch. I don't have to worry about an algorithm. Of course, usability test the subscribe button on Twitch. That would be the follow button. I don't have subscriptions yet. We do have our Slack workspace, which is free to join. No, you do not have to be a member of my secret club and pay monthly. deltacx.link/join Slack. And of course, we have the new tip jar, which is totally optional, but all money will go to the supercomputer that I have ordered to make these streams stop crashing. Julia says, congrats. Thank you, Julia. All of you are inspiring. Darren and his many degrees inspire me. Dr. Nick inspires me. Julia, all of you who have gone to the grad school route are inspiring. So, I finally decided to do it. I'm going to be 49 soon, so if I can do it, anybody can consider doing it. It doesn't mean you will. I hate that if I can do it, you can do it, because I don't know that. Maybe you can't. But if I can do it, you can think about doing it. So let's put it that way. Let's see. So I don't see any other questions right now. I'm checking my email for, again, the deltacx.link/ask, the new anonymous or non-anonymous question asking system. And let's see, stuff's popping up here. Yep. And let's see. So Emmy says, a bachelor's in music. I would love to learn more about that transition sometime. I can tell you about it now. We don't have any other burning questions, and it's not that long a story. So let me just put this on the list. And then Shannon's got a question too. So I'll answer quickly about my educational past and then go to Shannon's question. So putting this up on the big screen, here we go. We've got Emmy asking, a bachelor's in music. Wow. Well, thank you. So basically, when I started college in 1989, yes, get out your calculators. Well, I just said I'm going to be 49. I was a double major in music and chemistry. My school didn't have minors at the time. So if you liked something, you got a major in it. And I wanted to be pre-med. I wanted to be a genetic researcher. So I was really pre-med, but I've always been a musician. So I thought, let's study music too. I love this stuff. And after doing the pre-med thing for 2.5 years at the school, I dumped it. And here's a quick thing from Shannon. Thank you, Shannon. I dumped the science. I realized I did not want to be a laboratory researcher for my life. I finished with music. But because dropping the science left this huge hole in my schedule, I had like no classes to go to because I had the science was gone and I'd finished the music major and I had like a year left of school. So I started taking random crap, which my school really encouraged. It's one of those liberal Northeastern American schools. And so I started taking crappy random classes, some crappy, some cool. They weren't all crappy. I took 3 psychology classes and they really influenced what I ended up doing, which of course is UX, which I couldn't have foreseen at the time. I took Intro to Psychology, where we had to run experiments and do things. I took Psychology of Music, which was much more interesting than it sounds. And I took Psychology of Language, which was really influential because it really talked about how people understand and parse information when they code switch, Gestalt principles. Like, it was a total winner and set me up for future success I couldn't have known about. So that is a little bit about my path. Now let's go to Shannon. Where is it? Here we go. So Shannon asks, any advice on educating CEOs and other C-suite or business owners about what UX really is? What methods have you found are best to present this information to them? Well, I very rarely get to present to them. That's part of the problem, is very often the people I'm presenting to, especially at conferences, are going to be the UX worker bees, or they're going to be sometimes they're managers, sometimes director level, but I don't always get to talk to the highest level people in the land. I wish I could. I did a talk late last year, November, to CEOs and C-level executives, but not, from various companies, not just UX. And one of the questions I got after my talk was, well, where in the organization does UX go? And I said, well, really, it should have its own branch in the organization, chief experience officer. And they're like, no, what does it go under? And I'm like, no, it should be its own thing. And I'm like, plan B would be product, but really we should be our own thing. And it's like, they didn't even know that. And that's okay. We can't expect them to know this. I remember when I worked at Macy's, I had the opportunity to meet the CEO at a demo day for something we were playing with in an innovation lab. And everybody introduced themselves. Hi, I'm the iOS developer. Hi, I'm the QA tester. Hi, I'm this. And I said, hi, I'm Debbie. I'm the UX architect. And the CEO of Macy's looked at me and said, what's UX? And I was like, oh, I'm not prepared for that. Like, yes, I say it all day to all of you, but like, I did not see that one coming. So Shannon says, our team is under product. I find that to be a good plan B, except for when product wants to overrule us. So it's like, oh my gosh, the CEO of Macy's doesn't know what UX is. Oh my God, what do I say that's like 7 seconds long? So, I just said, I'm in charge of making things usable and user friendly, something like, the baby version of stuff. So I don't have great advice on this because I haven't had the opportunity to do it as much as I would like to. I still feel like we have to get in through managers and directors and vice presidents and hope they are shepherding it up to the C-suite. Otherwise, that's really educating people about what UX really is what all of my conference talks and all of my books are about, and I'm going to keep doing them. So that's what I try to do. Good luck to me and good luck to those of you who have joined for the ride. But I don't have a lot of great advice there because, and Darren's saying the same thing, managers and leaders should be educating leadership. Yeah, one thing I remind people is no matter what your job description says, if you are coming in at the individual contributor or worker bee level, as in not yet a manager or leader, it is not your job to change an organization. It is not your job to make everyone customer-centric or having empathy. It is not your job to change the culture. Yet this shit is on our job descriptions, which of course I will be addressing in my HR training, but it's really unbelievable. So just remember, even if it says something on your job description like you're going to bring customer centricity to thingy, ask about that in the interview. What authority will I have to change the culture? What authority will I have to make a difference here or change how we're doing things? So these are the things that I think are okay to ask during an interview, because if the job description says you're going to do this, then hypothetically someone might hold you responsible for it. So let's see. Wilson is saying, show them examples of how top tech companies are using UX to make their company successful. My CEO always looks for inspiring examples, and they're currently doing storyboarding company-wide because Airbnb did it. Yeah, I'm not into storyboarding if it is what I think it is. And I also worry about people copying people. I think that's how we end up with so many people doing design sprints and design thinking, because they heard Google did something or someone else did something, so we're going to do it too. And I think there's not enough critical thinking going on. So be careful with all of this. If you think you're doing storyboarding, make sure you know why and what's wrong if we don't storyboard, and is there something better than storyboarding that we probably should be doing instead. So again, be careful of all of these things. Let's see, I don't see any more questions coming in through the anonymous way. So this is Office Hours Ask Me Anything. I am here every Tuesday, and I am happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. And let's see. Remember that over in the Twitch universe, I'm running a giveaway. You can just put !giveaway. And at the end of the month, I will draw somebody to win my hardcover book, which I will personally sign to you and mail from here. And that's going to be expensive. So I'm happy to give it to one person. Please enter. I think you can't enter too many times in my system, but we'll draw somebody later in the month. And that is through Twitch. Just, how do you get to Twitch? So Twitch is twitch.tv, and then our account there, because someone else was Delta CX, because I think that's some sort of two common gaming terms put together, is deltacx.com, all written out, DOTCOM. Nothing I can do about that now. I didn't want to be Delta CX 5789234. So there you go. Okay, let's look at Wilson's next question. Let me copy and paste this for this. Okay, so we have another question. Let's put it up on the big screen. Oops, wrong button. Got any tips on how to detach yourself from work, especially with working from home? Yeah, I definitely have some tips, even though, let's face it, I am not good at detaching. Some of you are getting Slack responses from me at midnight my time. So I am, it's like, do as I say, not as I do. Let's face it. I do not detach from my work, but then again, I work for me, so it's a little different. When I do work at companies, I do think it's important to have those boundaries. So make sure you understand from your manager what hours they expect you to be available. And hopefully these are reasonable hours, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 10 to 6, whatever it is. And then at that point in time, feel free to unplug, close Outlook. I always say it's really good when you have these jobs to pick up your email in something separate from where you get your other email. So for example, if the company uses G Suite or Outlook, close that. I know that on my phone for my email app, and I'm on Android and I'm using Type app, Type, not sponsored. I think I can put in quiet hours for other email addresses. So I can say like, oh yeah, pick up my personal email all day long, but don't pick up my other email at certain times. That might be another way to go. I think any way that you can create boundaries here, or sometimes I will look at emails but not respond to them. Because again, you don't want to train everybody that you are available at a moment's notice. But sometimes I find it's hard for me to not look at those emails and ignore them. My curiosity is too great. But remember, that doesn't mean you have to respond to them. You have time when you are off, and if you look at an email and it's not important, or you can say to people like, I'm not checking my email. If it's freaking on fire, text me. But even then you need to have boundaries. So I also think that for people working from home, sometimes it's important to have like a designated desk or place, and make sure that when work is over, you walk away from that place, whether that's like a desk, or some people set up at their dining room table, then like put it away, close it. If you have a work issued computer, shut it down. So again, I think ultimately the question is about having boundaries. How do I create these boundaries? And again, I can't say this is how you must do it, but I think anything you can do to create and enforce these boundaries is worth it and helps with some of that balance, especially weekend time, vacation time, things like that. I hope that helps. We have a not totally anonymous question coming in. Let's add that to the list. And, and we also, and Julia had a question also. Sorry, Julia, let's hit the anonymous question and then yours. The anonymous question says, hi, Debbie, I'm trying to ascertain the true fundamentals of UX, but I'm confused as to what it actually is. Are the principles that icons like Jakob Nielsen and Whitney Hess preach what the backbone of great UX is, or is it even deeper, such as our human biology and wiring makes it so that our memory is limited or unreliable, or that problem solving is time-consuming or cognitively strenuous, etc.? Wow! I'm not even sure there's a question in there, but the bottom line is you're right. You're right. There's a lot that we can read about and learn. Hey, Darren, good to see you over in the Twitch world. Yay. So yes, ultimately, the principles that Nielsen, Hess, Norman, Tog, a lot of these people, Larry Marine, these people are about are giving you clues and hints at things that are related to psychology. So is it even deeper related to biology and wiring? It certainly is, and especially when you think about accessibility. For accessibility, some of these issues are biological for people. People may have diseases or conditions, or genetic things, or a lack of vision, a lack of hearing, or mobility. Now we're definitely in the biology realm. So I think that anything you can learn about these things can only serve you. Now I wouldn't say if you want to get into UX, you need to learn more about biology. I would usually start with cognitive psychology and natural human behavior. But certainly going deeper than that, and that's pretty deep to begin with, yes, definitely, we do need to turn to consider limitations of memory, and that's limitations of good memory. There are certainly people who have faulty memories or trouble with memory for various reasons, so it's important to understand these. I wouldn't say you have to understand these tremendously deeply, because again, this isn't a huge biology universe. But I still think that these are important to learn. So let me know if I've addressed your semi-question. But so the question is, what is UX? I think so. Ultimately, UX user experience, CX, customer experience, are the more science than art, in my opinion, of making things easy to learn and easy to use for people based on the situations they're in and the tasks they're trying to accomplish. So whether that is a digital thing like an app or a website or a system, how can people get their tasks accomplished easily, intuitively, logically? Remember, the more intuitive our system is, the less we have to rely on their memory where they have to remember how they did this last time they were here. Hey, it's just intuitive. Then there's also services. When you check into a hotel, what is that service like? What is the room like? What's the smell like? What do they hand you? How do they speak to you? These are human interactions that very much affect how we deal with companies and things they offer us. So there's that aspect of it as well. It's really any interaction, if we're talking in the corporate world and the agency world, it's really any interaction that a business can have with a customer or potential customer. That's why I tend to call them customers and not users, because to me, everyone is either a potential customer or a current customer or possibly a former customer. Darren says huge thumbs up. Definitely more science than art. Yes. So I would say what I say in my talks is we have many, many goals, but some of the key goals are ease of learning and use, customer loyalty and satisfaction, which is normally done through understanding them and building what they need to accomplish their tasks well and efficiently, and without guesses and without cognitive load and other issues, accessibility, and of course, making any process shorter and more efficient. So those are some of our normal goals. I hope that helps. I hope that addresses what you meant to ask, since there was a lot in that question and I'm not sure I hit it on the head, but hopefully that was close enough. We've got just a few more minutes, so I'm going to take Julia's question as our last question today and then run through some show notes of what's coming up so you can all mark your calendars. And again, don't forget to connect with us everywhere. So the last question from Julia is, and I can put this up on the screen. There we go. Any best practices for design handoff without common tools? InVision, a Zeppelin. My team on the project I'm joining has been using screenshots with in-depth descriptions. Is there a better way? Oops, I've got layering issues here. Sorry, everybody. That was Julia's question. I'll put it back up. So I think there are definite advantages to things like Zeppelin. They seem to be a really good bridge between visual designers and front-end developers. And I think we need to build more bridges there. So I do tend to like tools like Zeppelin for those purposes, and especially where we have reusable components or a design system. If the company is against using that, or they don't want to use it, they don't want to pay for it, then what I tend to have, and remember, I'm not the visual designer handing off the visual design. I'm usually handing off a medium fidelity prototype and someone is getting the visual design from a visual designer. But typically, I am handing off a highly functional and realistic Axure prototype. And that way, instead of a pile of documentation or a lot of annotated wireframes, I can say to developers, try it, use it. Then you can see how it works. I'll build in some error messaging, I'll build in some fake validation, I'll build in some realistic paths, and that way the developers don't have to read through a lot of documentation to see what this is or how it works. They can just try it, walk through it. And whenever I've done that, I've often, I'll also say to developers, hey, if there's any documentation you need from me, let me know. Do you want more extensive documentation? Do you want screenshots with notes on them? They go, oh no, this is great. And so sometimes I'll give them notes anyway, because there might be things about some of the functionality they didn't notice. Usually I'll walk through my prototype with them so they can see it. Sometimes I'll shoot a video of it so that if they want to see me walk through that prototype again, they don't have to call me into another meeting. They have a video they can refer to of me walking through my prototype saying, here's what it looks like if people get it right. Here's what it looks like if they get it wrong, and meet some error messages. So ultimately, I think that can be a great handoff, but be careful because people who are into agile hate the word handoff. So I would say also, I know that's just a language shift, but consider thinking of it more as a collaboration than a handoff. You will see handoff. I go to so many engineering conferences where I speak, and they think handoff is a dirty word because too often for them, some crappy UX person designs something that can't even be built and isn't viable. They hand it off to developers and they're never heard from again. So there's a bad association with handoff. It makes people think of waterfall and silos and conflict. So I would say as part of your collaboration with engineering, Envision is not going to be enough. To me, Envision is not a realistic prototype. You really have to be more in the Axure universe of prototyping tools. Otherwise, it's just a click-through model, and I think that's just not enough. So that's the way I see it. I know we got another question in. I'm going to see if we have time to answer it if it's not too long. Let me click on it. It doesn't show me in my email anymore. I have to click on it and go to the web page. So let's see what someone asked. Okay, so let's answer this one and then we will call it an adventure. Okay, so paste. Hi, Debbie. I asked the UX fundamentals question. Your answer definitely hit on what I was aiming at. I suppose what I was meaning to ask is, are the principles that the icons preach just dilutions, shortcuts, or cliff notes that a layman can understand of human biology and wiring? So I would say that I don't think of Nielsen or Norman as necessarily giving dilutions or shortcuts. Yes, they might not be speaking in academic terms. I think there is sometimes a language and a vibe translation between things that are highly academic and things that are a little bit more in the corporate agency day-to-day work world. So I don't think that if you read like Nielsen Norman group things, I think they can sometimes be academic and sometimes not, but I don't think of it as them doing dilution or a cliff notes. I just think of them more as non-academic, but I still think of them as quite scientific and thoughtful, if that makes sense. I don't know if Darren wants to add to this. Hey. Sorry, there's an in Twitch conversation happening that looks fun. So join Twitch, everybody. It's fun. I'm not a gamer, so I'm there for the musicians. I think the principles that the icons preach are really just concepts around psychology and maybe even biology, that it's not so much a shortcut or a dilution, but to me it's just something that's going to make sense for corporate worlds and corporate work. I find that people who are in academia will still use a lot of that the language that goes with what you might learn academically in psychology and biology. But then when all of us are in our day-to-day worlds, we code switch. We talk about it differently. So I think it's more that. I don't think that they're diluting it or cliff noting it. I think they're just putting it in terms most people can understand, because we're already accused of having too much jargon and lingo, even though I don't think we do. And we just don't want anything that's going to make people feel alienated from us. And if we showed up and started throwing around Gestalt principles of perception, we do run the risk that people go, oh, great, listen to this, Professor so-and-so. And so we don't want to talk over people's heads when we don't have to. We have to recognize our audience. They're smart people, but that doesn't mean they want to hear about biological constructs and psychological principles. So I think we just have to, and not dumb it down, but just put it in terms that everybody can understand. So I don't see that as a dilution. You might. I just see it as putting an undiluted thing into layman's terms. Julia says, the client is using Sketch and Envision, two bad choices. So flexibility is low. I hope to come across a client someday who uses Axure, and great note on handoff, language matters. Darren says, so sad. Proper UX operation calls for designing in conjunction with constraints via info obtained by collaborating with other team members. And so there's that. Sorry, my neck is very crackly today. So we're going to have to wrap up for today as we're just about out of time. Thanks to everybody who joined. I hope everybody will hit that follow button on Twitch, please. That would definitely help my goal of getting 50 followers in February. I think we're at 20 something. So please do hit that follow button. Thank you to Darren and Charlene for the follows today. And hopefully more people will follow as well. If you are not following on Twitch, please hit that follow button. No names named. And other than that, just a reminder that we will be live tomorrow with Nick, who is a UX researcher, and he is going to talk about, man, if I can figure out where people are coming into YouTube and leaving spam comments, why can't YouTube figure that out? Why do I have to mark all of these as spam? Anyway, Nick is a UX recruiter. I'm sorry, I meant to say recruiter. And he will be giving us some do's and don'ts from the recruiter side of things. So come tomorrow with your career questions, your resume and portfolio questions, and let's get his opinion on some of these things from the perspective he has as a recruiter. We're going to have everything streaming on Twitch as well as YouTube and LinkedIn in the future. So I hope people will join on Twitch. There's a lot of fun stuff that can happen on Twitch once I reach 50 followers and get some stuff under my belt. But it's very gamified and wacky. But for now, don't forget to press !giveaway and join the signed book giveaway. And thank you to Emmy for the hearts and Wilson for all of the emoji. And I'm going to sign off for now. But thanks to everybody for hanging out for Office Hours Ask Me Anything. And I will see everybody hopefully tomorrow. Be well. Delta CX, available for CX and UX consulting, projects, and training. Contact us for a free consultation.